at Donington. He started towards the front row, had a great getaway, and was leading in the early stages. Then mechanical issues pushed him back down the order. So hopefully everything is sorted with that car and he can get a good result. Row 2 is last year's vice champion in the Volkswagen Racing Cup, Rory Clark. Now, he made his first comeback of the year again last time at Donington Park. Had a bit of a shaky qualifying session. Had a great run from the back of the grid up to third, and then had another strong run battling amongst the front in the reverse grid race. He starts alongside Mark Wakefield in the number 18 car, who won the first race. Had a cracking race here last year. He made some fantastic passes, particularly one that was down into Clairvaux. We passed two cars up the inside, diving into the first corner and pulled off one of the best moves I've seen all year in racing. Fifth position is Owen Walton, son of Simon, and Owen, of course, is up there in the mix, I believe, for the championship. If you look, yes, he's second in the points, and he should after this first race, provided it's a good result, take over from the championship lead, I would imagine, from Martin Depper, who is not here this weekend. So no Martin Depper. Rob Allen, who was the man that Martin Depper battled for victory in race 2 at Donington Park, he's there in 6th, cracking battle for that lead. But Rob Allen in the independently run Illumi Motorsports car in 6th on the grids. Row 4 is Tony Prendergast and Russell Joyce on the 4th row of the grid. Row 5 is Jack Depper, who it's good to see that car back together, because the last time I saw that car, it was sideways on the exit of the old hairpin on the first lap of race 2. It cannoned back onto the road and into the side of a very hapless Simon Walton. Thankfully, both cars have been repaired and are back on the road, but good after that was a pretty nasty coming together between them. Then Matt Evans and Jeff Clark are on the 6th row of the grid, with Richard Gilbert rounding out the 13-car entry for this weekend. So this race has some connotations, because the top 6 in this race will then be reversed for the second 20-minute race tomorrow. And just quick shout out to Chrissy Arkell, saying waiting for the BMW second race to support my brother. Hopefully it'll be as exciting as the first. Hopefully so, Chris. That was a great first race for the Compact Cup. But if you like tin tops, the Volkswagen Racing Cup can produce just the same. There's been some cracking races throughout the year so far this year, and hopefully Croft will produce 2 more. There's Jeff Steele in one of the 3 Slide Sports cars on the grid. The other 2, of course, are the pair of Audi TTs. But here's Simon Walton in the Slide Sport Audi TT on pole position. Alongside him on the front row is Josh Coggin in the DW Racing Run Volkswagen Golf, the car on the right of the screen. Row 2, as we say, is Rory Clark in the JW Bird Motorsport Scirocco. And alongside him on the second row of the grid is the HSG Sport number 18 of Mark Wakefield, also running Richard Woods this weekend in the TCR UK Championship in the Cupra. So, who can win the sprint down towards turn 1, and who can make the best of their starting position? Just the last couple of the cars are going to get into place. A little bit of a word with Russell Joyce there, who is starting in 8th on the grid. And it looks though he might be a little bit out of position, because he's not as far forward in his starting spot as he really probably should be. Anyway, he's a little bit further back from Tony Prendergast. Either way, it looks as though we're possibly set to get underway now for what looks to be 20 minutes of racing action for the Volkswagen Racing Cup. Remember, it is Simon Walton and Josh Coggin on the front row of the grid from Clark, Wakefield, Walton. And then the cars head off for what looks to be a formation lap. So rather than a race start from the front of the field, it looks like they are going to go off for a green flag lap then. So warming up the tyres from side to side. Of course, for anyone that's not sure why they're waving from side to side, it's to generate both heat and pressure into the tyres and the brakes to get them into a prime operating range, which means it gets them as warm as possible. If you have them too warm, they can start to slide around and give you less grip. If they're too cold, they can give you less grip and cause you to slide around. So you have to find the optimum range for both the tyres and the brakes to operate, because again, if the brakes are too cold, they won't be sufficient. If they're too hot, then again, they won't be sufficient. So finding the right range to get them to perform in is absolutely crucial. Sometimes, if it's a cooler track, you can help with tyre temperatures and pressures, because it helps to regulate them a little bit better. On a warmer track like this today, particularly when it might be warmer than it was earlier on in qualifying this morning, you might find that the grip levels as a driver might be different than when you first found them. Of course, something else you've got to take into account as well is the amount of rubber that's been laid down ever since these guys went out for qualifying, because they were, looking back at the timetable, they were the 4th session out today, but since then we've had qualifying for the Alfa Romeos, for the Porsches, for the Mazda MX-5s, the Civics, the Northern Sports and Saloon cars that are here this weekend as well, and we've had 2 races and a qualifying session as well after lunch. So there's plenty of rubber's been laid down. So there should be more grip on the circuit, but arguably also the tyre temperatures are up there, which means that trying to regulate the amount of grip and wear and degradation that you get on these tyres is also crucial as well. Just a quick rundown of the point standings coming to the weekend. Martin Depper, who sadly isn't here this weekend, is on 272, but it looks as though with a good result, as we said, that Owen Walton should overhaul that with 264. Mark Wakefield is third in the points with 262, followed by Rob Allen, thanks to his victory at Donington Park, which puts him fourth with 252. Josh Colgan with 250 is fifth. Tony Prendergast is equal sixth with Russell Joyce with 214 points apiece. 8th place for Simon Walton on 212. 9th place for Matt Evans on 192. And Jack Depper on 164 rounds out the top 10. So there's Josh Colgan. He'll be hoping for a trouble-free race here in this first race this afternoon. And can he possibly go ahead and pick up a race victory which he's been waiting for quite a while now? So far this year, missed out both times at Donington. 2 great opportunities, but they were both taken away from him due to mechanical problems. Rory Clark could be with a good shout. Of course, he's a former BMW Compact Cup racer, has gone across to the VW Racing Cup. Missed the first few races, but back in with JW Bird Motorsport. And Mark Wakefield, of course, made his TCR UK debut last weekend in the same Cupra, which Richard Woods should be driving this weekend, provided they can get that drive shaft problem fixed. But Mark is a very competitive driver, very quick, and knows exactly how to handle a front-wheel drive car. So, first few rows are in place. Last couple of cars should be getting into the back of the field, and then we'll get the green flag at the back. The 5-second ball will go up. The rows will rise, and race number 1 of the weekend for the Volkswagen Racing Cup for 2019 here at Croft should be all set to get underway. It will be Audi TT versus Volkswagen Golf on the sprint to Clairvaux as the lights go out. Decent start for Josh Colgan from the front row of the grid. Tries to pull level with the Audi TT of Simon Walton down towards turn 1. But in the second phase of the start, it's a better run down towards Clairvaux for the Audi TT. They turn into the right-hander for the first time. And Simon holds the lead into Hawthorns. And now as they turn right now through the curve into the S's, it is still Simon Walton leads the way. Josh Colgan trying to get second place with a good exit on the back straight down towards Tower Corner. Good start also for Rob Allen, who started back in 6th place, up to 3rd already. So a cracking getaway for the Illumi Motorsports Golf. Into Tower for the first time they go. Now Owen Walton's also up there to 4th place. Owen started back in 5th on the grid, up 1 place. It's not a good start for Mark Wakefield though. Started back in 4th, he's back into the place. He's got some work to do to get himself back up into the possible podium places. A poor start also for Rory Clark. Started 3rd, he's down to 6th position as Owen Walton goes wide on the exit of the second part of the Jim Clark S's, but down towards Sunny in and Sunny out for the first time. It is Simon Walton leads the way, and Josh Colgan in 2nd place, looking up the inside of the Audi TT. Has he left the gap open? He may have done, as they go side by side on the exit of Sunny out on the sprint down towards it. It's going to be 3 abreast almost as Rob Allen takes a peek up the inside of the Audi TT and into the complex for the first time. Rest of the field goes pouring through. Bit of a poor start for Russell Joyce, also looks to be a couple of places down outside the top 10. Leaders back into the hairpin, all hit the brakes as Rob Allen again takes another sneak up the inside line of Simon Walton, puts himself into his mirrors, trying to find a way through. But on the pit straight now, heading down towards turn 1 for the first time at racing speeds, it will be Josh Colgan who leads the way from the front row of the grid. Simon Walton in 2nd place. Allen now under attack from the 2nd of the Slide Sports Audi TTs. That is Owen Walton, of course 2nd of the points coming into the weekend. Mark Wakefield, the Donington Park winner, behind him in 5th place. And in 6th now is Rory Clark, last year's vice champion. 7th place for Tony Prendergast. 8th place also for Jack Depper. That was a good start for Jack. He started back in 9th on the grid, and he's up 1 place to 8th. Russell Joyce is 9th, and running up the top 10 is Mark Steele in the 3rd of the Slide Sports cars and the Staples-backed Volkswagen Golf. There's Mark Wakefield diving to the inside line to defend from an attack from Rory Clark as they go back into Tower Corner. A little wide for Rob Allen just in front as that puts him under threat from Owen Walton into the Jim Clark S's for the 2nd time. That's being kicked up in the background as they head their way through. It's a fantastically fast section, that Jim Clark S is. Equally here at Barcroft, you can swing the car through the right-hander and then hard on the brakes. A little bit of trail braking into that right-hander just to rotate the car a little bit. And Josh Colgan now trying to escape from the chasing pack behind him as they turn out through Sunny out for the 2nd time. Russell Joyce now just ahead of Mark Steele as they head up now towards the complex. And under threat now, Mark Steele looks to be a battle. That's just behind him there. Appears to be Matt Evans, the number 7 Volkswagen Scirocco. End of lap 2. And there's Rory Clark again thinking about a dive up the inside for P5. Mark Wakefield left the door open. and Rory Clark was all up over the curbs on the inside there, but just couldn't find the traction on the exit to make his way through. Josh Coggan, on the first time around at proper racing speeds, puts in the fastest lap of the race, 1:30.949. As we head on to lap 3 now. And the gap across the line was about 0.8 of a second between Josh Coggan and Simon Walton. Here's our fight for third developing. So it's Golf from TT, that's the top 4. And then it's the Volkswagen Golf in 5th position. The first of the Scirocco's is Rory Clark in 6th, from Tony Prendergast in 7th place, Russell Joyce 8th, and it's still Mark Steele in 9th. And it's now, looks to be, I think that is actually number 2 of Richie Gilbert's up to 10th place at the expense of Matt Evans. So there's been a change there for 10th position. One car towards the back, just trying to make his way through, is Jeff Clark there, and the other of the JW Bird Motorsport Golfs. As the cars head their way back into the chicane now, the closest battle that seems to be developing appears to be the scrap for 4th and 5th now, because Rob Allam is trying to make a break here in 3rd place to chase up after 2nd place man Simon Walton. So he's getting away from one TT to catch the other, whilst Mark Wakefield starts to stack up behind the number 91 Swanflight sponsored Slide Sports Audi TT. Rory Clark's in there as well, trying to get a position into the top 5. Josh Coggan again leads the field back into the complex again at the end of lap 3. A couple more cars running wide. That's number 7 that's geeking up the dust. Matt Evans has lost that place, of course, to Richie Gilbert, and also so is Jack Deppers. He's dropped a few spots. He was inside the top 10, but he's dropped back down to 12th position, so an error for Jack then. As seen him lose a few spots as they come back onto the pit straight now. This is the end of lap 3. Another new fastest lap of the race this time by for Josh Coggan. 1:30.467, as you can see on the bottom left of the screen. And the cars will now head back into the complex at Clairvaux. And they'll come back into sight in just a few moments' time as Josh Coggan had a lead of now 0.9 of a second. Here they come. And Rob Allam now, looking at his last lap time, he was able to match the lap time of Simon Walton, but through these first couple of corners, he appears to have brought the gap down ever so fractionally as he tries to chase on for a place higher on the podium. Back into Tower Corner they go now on lap 4. Still in 4th place, Owen Walton from Wakefield, Clark, Prendergast. There's Russell Joyce in the 72. Mark Steele in the 22, and then Richie Gilbert, who's now ahead of Matt Evans. Jack Depper somewhat off the pace in 12th, not exactly happy with the pace he's running so far, so I'm sure he'll try and rebound for race 2 if he can. And in 13th place, of course, we see is Jeff Clark, who started back in 12th place, number 65. Back through sunny in and sunny out again, and this time now, again, it's a case of trying to catch one car whilst being caught by another, because now it's Mark Wakefield's turn to feel the pressure, with Rory Smith sniffing around his rear bumper for 5th position as they turn back into the complex again for the 4th time. The rest of the field goes through, and there, just the back of the field there, you can see is the number 65 of Jeff Clark. Now there's our race leader, and that gap, it was 9/10 of a second, but it looks visibly a little bit closer this time by. Let's look at the gap across the line. New fastest lap of the race was going to Josh Coggan, and that's been beaten by about 0.4 of a second by Simon Walton. Dips underneath 1:30. He's gone to 1:29.856 at the end of lap 4. So now it's a battle being drawn here between the DW Racing Golf of Josh Coggan and the Slide Sports Audi TT of Simon Walton as they head back through the S's again on lap 5 of this first race of the weekend of the Volkswagen Racing Cup. And there is Simon Walton on the hunt for the lead. Rob Allam keeping close in 3rd place. The second battle pack comes into view, headed by the second of the Audi TTs with Owen Walton at the front of it, then Mark Wakefield, and then Rory Clark. We know all 60 drivers are good. As a little wide on the exit goes Owen Walton. Possible loss of momentum, and that's going to put him under threat from Wakefield through the Jim Clark S's. And if he can get himself close enough, he'll start to set himself up a little bit for a move, possibly looking at the second half of a lap here into the final few corners. Hear the cars whistling as they hit the brakes. Turning out through the first part of sunny in and sunny out. Look at that. It's almost a 12-wheeled VAG car there, because I was about to say 2 Volkswagens, but 3 Volkswagens, but there is an Audi in there as well. Mark Wakefield looking to the outside of Owen Walton, back into the complex again. So whilst one Audi attacks, the other one has to get his elbows out as the leaders come back into the hairpin. Little deep on the first part of the apex there for Josh Coggan. And now you can see the gap that was 9/10 of a second visibly is nothing of the sort now anymore. Across the line they go. It's now less than 0.3 of a second. So Simon Walton on the prowl. He's charging onto the back of Josh Coggan now as they turn in. We've got just over 12 minutes to go here, so we're coming up to half distance. And Rob Allam, of course, shows exactly what he could do after a fantastic race-long battle with Martin Depper, I should say, in the second race at Donington Park, going wheel to wheel. That was great as Simon Walton goes off the road on the exit of the S's, pushing a little too hard was the Audi TT, and that's going to put him now under massive pressure from Rob Allam as they come back towards Tower Corner. Although somehow I think he kept his foot in so much, he managed to keep his momentum impressively. So great job from Simon Walton, but all it's done is given, and now it's Rob Allam's turn to go across the grass. Now Mark Wakefield also, I noticed there, a little bit of bodywork hanging off there. One of the front wings on that car just hanging off a little bit. If it starts flapping around too much, you might get a mechanical warning flag, which is the black flag with the orange circle, as they call it in racing terms, the meatball flag. So you've got to be careful it doesn't flap around too much. There it is, just caught the glimpse there as they come through. You'll see it on what is driver's right as they come through. As they come back into the view, looks like possibly the bumper's a little bit askew. There he is, look at that. Mark Wakefield's taking it. He's lost a front headlight as it goes off for a Burton on the right-hand side. So he's obviously, I think there's been contact between Rory Clark and Mark Wakefield because the front end of that car's been sucker punched, I think, and I wonder if there's any damage on the rear of Rory's car, as now second place comes under threat as Simon Walton, trying to rediscover his momentum a little bit more, comes back under threat from Rob Allam as everything starts to spread out a little bit here. So the gap was 0.2 a second. It's gone back out to 6.5 tenths now between leader Josh Coggan and second place man Simon Walton. So quick recap of where we are then, with just over half the race to go. Josh Coggan continues to lead now by 6.5 tenths of a second. Simon Walton in second place, coming under threat from Rob Allam in third. Owen Walton still holds fourth from now Ruby Clark in fifth position. Mark Wakefield down to sixth. As again, Josh Coggan's off the road this time. So Josh Coggan's trying to push on to try and hold the lead. So he feels the pressure this time. A little wide on the exit, trying to get as much momentum as he can. And another glimpse of hope for Simon Walton now as they come back to the right-hander. And this invites the Audi TT to just close back in now to have a shot at retaking the lead. Of course, Simon Walton started from pole position. These two cars shared the front row, but it was Josh Coggan that got the best run off the line to grab the lead down towards turn one. Back into sunny in and sunny out. Looks as though that Coggan's got his momentum back up again as they come back through the right-hander. And back out of sunny out once again. First, second, third. Then it's Owen Walton, followed by Clark in fifth. Mark Wakefield with a slightly damaged car in sixth position. Goes past his headlight for the first time on the right-hand side. As now for second place, Rob Allam is possibly starting to think about making designs on a move here. And again, you can see that Walton has to go defensive, take the tighter entry into the hairpin. It might compromise his run off the corner, although Josh Coggan's run off the corner wasn't all that superb either, but managed to put his foot down quick enough to gather the momentum back up again, and the gap is back down again. It's now less than 4 tenths. Rest of the top 10 is Tony Prendergast in 7th place, ahead of Russell Joyce in 8th, Mark Steele is 9th, and Richard Gilbert rounds out the top 10 from Jack Depper, who's up to 11th now, at the expense of Matt Evans, and Jeff Clark at the back of the field in 13th place. Leaders out of the S's, and now you can see that Owen Walton is starting to pull away from Rory Clark here a little bit, or either that, he's bringing Rory Clark with him, so what was a 3-car scrap for the lead now becomes a 5-car tussle for the podium places as they turn into Tower Corner, because look at the way that Owen Walton has caught the top 3 and he's bringing Rory Clark with him, so this should be a fascinating second half of the race with 8.5 minutes to go. Josh Coggan trying to put a little bit of daylight now between the top 2 as they come into Barcroft once again. So, Golf, TT, Golf, TT, Scirocco. That's the top 5. Back out through the second part of Sunny and then Sunny out. There's the top 5, one after the other. Line astern, again, a little wide on the exit. I think it was possibly Rory Clark, I think, as they came back into the complex. And he's now sniffing around the rear wing of Owen Walton for 4th position. And lock up on the inside front for Simon. So the two Golfs starting to feel the pressure here as Alan thinks, right, time to make the move. But Simon has other ideas. Sweeps to the inside line and prevents the chance to get through. So Rob thought, well, rather than try and risk an accident, let's sweep back to the racing line and try and plot for later around the lap another time. Back across the line they go again. Gap is back out to 7 tenths of a second. So all this fighting again, it's just allowing Josh Coggan to pull a little bit of a break here. So really, in many cases, Rob Allam is doing Josh Coggan a favour here, because all defending Simon Walton has to do is just allowing Josh Coggan to extend the lead and finally pick up the victory, which he probably felt he should have got in either of the races at Donington Park. But of course the race isn't over just yet. We've still got plenty of the race still to go, just under 7.5 minutes, and the top 5 are all together now. Could be a change on for third though, as behind them you see Mark Wakefield really has dropped back after the contact. He's now fallen into the clutches of Tony Prendergast, so he could be under threat for losing 6th position before the end of the race. So leading quintet make the sprint back down towards the Jim Clark S's. We're on lap 9 with just under 7 minutes to go. And everyone's just getting a little bit more spread out now in the top 5. Coggan trying to pull the gap out here on Simon Walton, who in turn is trying to pull away from Rob Allam, who in turn is trying to pull away from Owen Walton, who in turn is coming under pressure from fifth place man Rory Clark. So it's all sort of changing lap by lap, corner by corner here in the Volkswagen Racing Cup, but that's how it goes. And again, Rory Clark taking the slightly wider racing line into the complex. Another lock up again for Rob Allam as he tried to again sneak a look up the inside for the lead. Well, not quite the lead, as Simon Walton again, slightly deeper entry into the corner, and Rob Allam tried to put himself alongside, but the better sort of wider swing off the corner allows Walton to carry on the momentum. Change for 6th meanwhile behind them, because up the inside goes Tony Prendergast at the expense of the slightly damaged Mark Wakefield, and they're both also been coming under pressure behind them there, just behind from number 72, Russell Joyce. So 3 cars for 6th position. Tony Prendergast, now he's got through, he might try and start to chase after the top 5 if he's got enough pace, but that's, I don't want to say dog-eared, but that's a that's a Volkswagen Golf that needs a bit of TLC, I think, because another piece of bodywork goes flying on the exit of the S. That's a front wing that's gone missing now. So the front white light's been punched out, the front wing's gone as well. The little bit of the front bumper's been mangled also. So poor Mark Wakefield's Golf has got some work to do here. It's now side by side for what is 4th place. Rory Clark goes down the outside of the Jim Clark S's over the grass. There was a little bit of contact between Owen Walton and Rory Clark. Now then, is that going to be deemed gaining an advantage by cutting across the track? Clark might not think so, because he might feel he was forced there. Owen Walton might have the argument that effectively it was 2 by 2 and Rory Clark chose to go that way. We'll wait and see. But Clark gets through. There's the bit of bodywork that came off on the exit of the S's, and a very brave marshal heading across to pick it up. Well done. So, into the final 5 minutes now, this first race of the weekend for the Volkswagen Racing Cup, and still the battle rages on. This is our scrap for 4th and 5th still going on. Rory Clark, of course, has just taken that 4th place from Owen Walton. And now he's going to get a chance to redeem himself down the pit straight here to grab a toe and sprint down towards Clairvaux. Meanwhile, back with our leaders. Josh Coggan has a 1 second advantage here as he heads into Hawthorns now on lap 11. Still a couple more laps left in the tank here for these few leading drivers. So Simon Walton 2nd, Allam 3rd. The fight for 4th continues on between Clark and Walton. And let's see who wants it more. Let's see which car's got the minerals, which one has got the pace it needs. It's either going to be the Scirocco or the TT, and so far the Scirocco's got the edge on the Slide Sports Audi. Into Tower Bend they go. And Owen will try and get him back if he can, but Clark's got enough momentum to hold on to the place as they're back towards the Jim Clark S's. Meanwhile, back to our scrap for 2nd place. Still into Barcroft. Rob Allam chasing down Simon Walton. See the rear just danced around a little bit, and look at that. I think Rob Allam was just carrying a little too much speed into the apex of the first part of Sunny and the Sunny out, but he might have squared the corner off, which means he won't have lost too much time. 4th and 5th go through the shot. And looking in the background for 6th position, there's quite far down the road is Tony Prendergast. There he is, just in the background there. Followed by Russell Joyce. So Mark Wakefield has dropped another spot now, so he's dropped back down to 8th. So the damage is doing more harm than it may look. As into the hairpin goes Rory Clark. He's quite a young driver, because he's last year's vice champ. He's also been a front runner and I believe a race winner in the BMW Compact Cup. So he's got plenty of tin top experience now, both front and rear wheel drive. He's a handy little driver, is Rory. I think he's also had some experience at the wheel of a Formula Ford at one point as well. So certainly someone who keeps on developing, and I'm sure we'll see him for years to come in not just club motorsport, but I'm sure national motorsport across the UK in the next few seasons. Rob Allam continuing the pursuit for 2nd place now. He wants to get another strong result after picking up that Donington Park race win. Here comes 4th and 5th down toward Tower Bend as our leaders approach the right-hander. And looking last time by, Simon Walton was a couple of tenths quicker on that lap. It was a 1:31.0 for Josh Coggan compared to a 1:30.8 for Simon Walton. Rob Allam is 3rd. He did a 1:30.9. Quickest man out of the top 5 was actually Rory Clark, 1:30.7. So, but the gap to the leader with just under 2.5 minutes to go is 4.1 seconds. So, touch wood, if anything happens, as long as nothing happens, Josh Coggan looks at the moment to be in prime position to take the victory. But as we know in motorsport, it's never that simple sometimes. Now we look back to see a scrap going on between Richard Gilbert and a rather off the pace Jack Depper. It's a bit disappointing to see him this far back. I'm sure Jack will be as well, but I don't think he envisioned in this race being battling for 10th position with Richard Gilbert, and Gilbert seems to be feeling the pressure here as he was a little deep into the first part of the apex of Sunny in. A little wide on the exit of Sunny out. This will put him under threat now on the sprint down towards the complex, and Jack Depper looks up the inside lines. He's going to make the dive. He's thinking about it. He can pull himself alongside in the right way. He might be able to get the inside line for the final corner and then haul himself into the lead, into the position. Back across the line. And wow, Simon Walton lost quite a bit of time there. In fact, it was a 1:30.4 for Josh Coggan, who pulled out another half a second. So the gap is back out to 1.3 as they come onto the back straight. They've got this and possibly one more time around. There's a fastest lap of the race is still held by Simon Walton, 1:29.856. The only man so far to have done a sub 90-second lap time. And as it was, still no change in the top three. Rob Allen turns his way into Tower Bend. And out of it again. He's looking at the last lap he did. He lost another 0.4 per second actually to Simon Walton. So his gap now is 1 second between second and third position. Josh Coggan again down through the gears into the right-hander at Sunny in and Sunny out, gliding the number 12 DW Racing Golf through. He's going to pole on a race win in his first season of racing, and he's done a fantastic. That's what he managed in his first season of racing, and his ambitions is to win the championship. And with performances like this, he's certainly going the right way about it. So they'll get one more time around the clock. 20 seconds still left to go. So they're going to head past the pits and get the last lap board as Josh Coggan continues to lead the way now from the rest of the field. And all that stands between him now is 2.1 miles of the Croft Circuit. And he'll be hoping that everything stays together. I don't want to put the commentator's curse on it, but let's hope everything stays together and he can get it towards the checker flag all in one piece and get himself to the end of the race. So out of Hawthorns into the S now for the final time. The gap is now 1.7 seconds between Coggan and Walton, and the gap between second and third is now out to 1.3. So Simon was able to find another 0.3. Third place, though, is going to be possibly tricky now between Rob Allen and Ruby Clark, because last time for Ruby Clark, his last lap was a 1:30.6. He was the fastest man in the top 5. He was 0.4 quicker than Rob Allen, so that's going to be pretty intense now. So he might be a little bit too late unless something happens to Rob on the final lap. But into the final few corners comes Josh Coggan. And ever since he took the lead on the opening couple of corners here in this first race of the weekend for the Volkswagen Racing Cup, he's been pretty much sublime. He's held off the threat from the likes of Simon Walton, Rob Allen, even Mark Wakefield at one stage. But into the complex for the final time he goes. After missing out twice at Donington Park, after starting with the front row and getting to the front, finally he's going to get the race victory he felt he should have had. Into the hairpin for the final time. It's been a superb performance for the DW Racing Volkswagen Golf. Onto the pit straight, up to the checkered flag. It will be a race victory. I'm sure he'll be absolutely delighted and relieved at that for Josh Coggan as he weaves towards the pit lane and takes victory in race 1 of the weekend in the Volkswagen Racing Cup. Simon Walton second. That is Richard Gilbert off the road. Now then, either that's contact with somebody or we clip one of the tyre stacks. Either way, that car's facing the wrong way on the exit, I think, of the S's. He's going to get it going again. But whether there was contact, he was very close with Jack Depper at one point, and we didn't see anything. But we'll have to wait and see if the stewards have anything to say about any particular incident. Jack Depper does come across the line in 9th place, with Richard Gilbert. No, it won't be actually. Mark Steele in 10th position as a result of that. So, unfortunate misfortune for Richard Gilbert as he goes a little bit tumbling down the timing strings. But a cracking race for Josh Coggan, and that will certainly do his championship aspirations no harm whatsoever, because that will be a solid haul of points. What it will mean, though, is because actually, of course, we reversed the top 6, and Rob Allen, was there a penalty of some? I think either it's a timing screen glitch, whatever it is, but I'm showing on my timing screen that both Owen Walton and Rob Allen have been pushed down to 4th and 6th position. There wasn't any notification of any penalties for any drivers, so either that's a timing screen glitch or that's there's a question mark. So they've both been given. It's a 5-second penalty for Owen Walton and a 15-second penalty for Rob Allam. So we'll try and find out what they were. Anyway, there's the result on the screen. Josh Coggan wins the race with Simon Walton in second place. As a result of those penalties, which we didn't see on the screen, Rory Clark picks up the final podium spot from Owen Walton in 4th position. As a result, he gets demoted to 4th. Tony Prendergast gets 5th, and Rob Allam is 6th. But what that will mean is Rob Allam should start the second race tomorrow from pole position, because the top 6 from the race 1 result is reversed to set the grid for race number 2. So Rob Allam should in fact inherit pole position, which is a bit of a silver lining after that one. Russell Joyce gets 7th. Mark Wakefield finishes a rather disappointed 8th after the damage on his car. 9th place for Jack Depper, and Mark Steele rounds out the top 10 with Matt Evans at 11th place. Richard Gilbert, who does make it to the flag, in 12th position, and then it's Jeff Clark in 13th. So there's the rest of the order on the screen. And here comes Richard Gilbert's car. Slightly battle-scarred on the left front. Quite a few cars with left front damage, because Mark Wakefield's car had that, and a couple of others sporting some injuries to have to repair for tomorrow's racing. But what that will certainly do is get everyone in shape for the second race tomorrow afternoon. So we now move into a race coming up now, which is a combined race for 2 championships this weekend. And it is for the BRSCC Alfa Romeo Championship and the Toyota's Porsche Championship, both of them sharing a grid this weekend. And it's the first time they've done so in their, I believe, their championship's history. So it's going to be Germany versus Italy on there. We've got 7 Porsches, and we've got, I believe, 12 or 13 Alfa Romeos on the grid. And they'll be heading out onto the grid for the first of what will be 3 races for the Porsches and 2 for the Alfa Romeos. So the Alfa Romeos and Porsches will race together for 2 races, and then for the third Porsche race, it'll be the Boxsters and 924s by themselves on the grid, which will be the last race of tomorrow. Also got a quick break to recover a couple of cars on the circuit. We should talk about a new series that's coming up this season in a few weeks' time at Brands Hatch, which is the BRSCC Club Sport Trophy, which is a new 45-minute sort of mini endurance race, which has 2 dates, on July 27th at Brands Hatch and also on October the 19th, I believe, at Donington Park. This is a 5-class structure. It's all based on power to weight ratio. Any